Now let's bring in Duncan Levin, criminal defense attorney and managing attorney at Levin and Associates, who's also a former federal and state prosecutor. Duncan, what is Mr. Trump's best defense as you understand it right now, having read through this indictment yourself?
Well, what we're seeing here is the fact that he has two different defenses to make. One is a political defense and one is a legal defense. Now, this political defense, attacking the prosecutors, saying that they're out to get me, they're out to overturn the election, all of those things really are not going to help him at the end of the day in a court of law. This case is brand new, so we're likely not to see what this defense is going to be. But I think ultimately he's going to say, look, the First Amendment allows me to talk about it. A lot of the things I was talking about are protected by law. I had broad privileges as president to do what I did. And that's why I think Jack Smith and his team have done a very thorough job of laying out the ways in which that isn't true. But I think he's likely to attack it in a very different way than we're seeing in public. It's going to be much more about the fact that his actions that day and leading up to it comported with law and didn't go beyond what he was allowed to do.
Duncan, break it down for me. The indictment lists 6 co-conspirators. 5 of them are named. The identity of one is still unknown. Why is this important and why is it unknown?
Well, look, this is the beginning of an investigation, even though a lot of what came out in this indictment is stuff that we've known about for a long time. And there's actually not a ton of new information in this indictment when it comes down to it. We've known about this for a long time, but this is the beginning of their investigation. It's the beginning of a criminal process now where both sides will be entitled to some discovery here. And at the end of the day, it signals, one, that the U.S. Attorney's Office and federal law enforcement are just beginning their investigation into this and continues. And so they'll be looking into these co-conspirators. We may see more charges coming in the coming days and weeks against some of these co-conspirators. If I were one of the unnamed co-conspirators in this indictment, I would be very nervous that I were coming next.
Duncan, I asked NewsNation correspondent Joe Khalil, who was on just before you, whether or not this judge is ready for a case this high profile. He was quick to point out that a judge at this level is ready for almost anything. Do you agree with that? And what can she expect as far as the media attention and possibly rabid supporters making her situation less than comfortable?
I think it's something that most federal judges and all the federal judges in that building, I can assure you, are capable of handling this case. They've been dealing with a slew of these January 6 related cases for a while. They're very familiar with the case law in this area, particularly with the case law surrounding this charge of 1512, which is the charge to obstruct an official proceeding of Congress. Those trials have been taking up a lot of time in this courtroom and this courthouse. This courthouse is no stranger to any kind of publicity. No one's really ready to become the judge on this case. I don't think most judges would want that spotlight on them. But at the end of the day, this judge can handle it. And the courthouse is a place that handles routinely matters bearing on this subject and dealing with high-profile people.
Duncan, one more question for you there. We talked about the randomness on how the judge was selected. How does that process work and why does that matter?
New cases spin out, they wheel out to a judge. It is a random selection process. There are ways in which certain cases are reassigned. For example, if there's a related case, one judge has a case and a new case comes in and it's somewhat related, they can get it sent over to the first judge. But absent some kind of situation like that, cases get randomly assigned out to judges precisely for this moment where people say, oh, this judge has some sort of bias. I'm sure former President Trump will make an argument that he can't get a fair trial in D.C. and this judge who was appointed by a Democrat won't give him a fair shake. I'm sure those are political defenses that he will use, and he may even try to recuse the judge. But at the end of the day, it gets wheeled out randomly on purpose exactly for this type of situation.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.